Nathan, what's up?
Nev, who the hell is running our TikTok account?
What?
I don't see any videos of us on here. The Boy and the Heron, we didn't even review that movie.
No, Nathan, I think you're mistaken. That's not how we spell our name.
Real Talk Podcast.
Yeah, not T-O-K. We're T-A-L-K. Like we're
Whatever,
talking.
Nev. Right, like there's some other Real Talk podcast out there reviewing movies.
You know what?
Listen to yourself right now, Nev.
Let's just film, please.
Welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast, episode 130. I'm your host, Nathan, and I'm joined by the man himself, Matthew Nevis, to my left.
Thank you.
Today, we are going to be discussing the filmography and career of the legend, Robert Downey Jr.
Hell yeah, man.
Obviously, felt like it's a good time to talk about the man RDJ because he just won his first Oscar.
Yeah, man.
Best Supporting Actor for his role in Oppenheimer, which I think was extremely warranted and well-deserved. Mm-hmm. That was such a good performance by him. Mm-hmm. And it was great to see that after so much, MCU stuff.
Oh, yeah, man.
That he still had that dog in him.
Oh, he always had it in him.
He always had that
He was holding
dog
it in
him.
because it's like, I got to do the Marvel stuff. I understand.
Yeah.
But now, it's go time. So I did something similar to Ryan Gosling with RDJ, where I kind of organized his career in sections.
He's got eras, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, what was like a lot of times in his life, what was happening off screen was a lot more interesting than what's happening on screen. Mm-hmm. This, could have been the classic, like, oh, he had potential, but he threw it all away story, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to start from the beginning. So,
absolutely.
Robert Downey Jr., son of Robert Downey, which was which was a pretty famous, like kind of like an underground director, low budget films, but did his thing, like has a filmography.
Oh yeah, if you've seen him in some movies, a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? He was in Boogie Nights, he was in To Live and Die in LA, which we covered on our Movie of the Month Patreon YouTube membership exclusive. He's had small roles in those, so he's been very prominent within Hollywood.
Yeah, actor and director.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So he grew up with the arts. His mother was an actress.
Yep.
He grew up on film sets with his dad. Mm-hmm. And also his dad was, making these films, but also had a drug addiction. Yeah. At the same time. So you can imagine the chaotic life that he grew up with. Mm-hmm. And he starts acting at 5 years old. Stars in one of his father's films called Pound, about like animals in a pound. Mm-hmm. And apparently, like, first smokes weed with his father at 10 years old. Yeah,
their family is a little different from others.
A little wild,
to say
right?
The least, yeah.
Like, you could see how from a young age, like, he went down a tough path and didn't have the base that a kid should have for life. Right. And that shows up in his early career for sure, like in the 1980s. Let's get into his teenage era.
His teenage era, I feel like a lot of people remember him in smaller roles, I would say, such as Weird Science, Back to School, Less Than Zero. I don't know if you've heard of Less Than Zero.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Less Than Zero, he actually plays a drug-addicted teenager.
Yeah.
And I think he that was like a role he was pretty praised for. First one that kind of really put him on the map.
Yeah.
But like immediately after that had to go to rehab.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it too.
He was like kind of living the character in a way. I think the character was an exaggerated version of what he was going through in his personal life, which is pretty wild.
Pretty intense stuff. But those films in particular, a lot of people remember him by, in smaller roles, of course. But that's how he met Anthony Michael Hall on Weird Science, which Anthony Michael Hall was like, hey, dude, we should be like SNL cast members. And they fucking were for like a year. A lot of people don't know this.
A lot of people are like, Robert Downey Jr. was on SNL right now?
He was on SNL on 1985, 1986. In my opinion, the worst year for SNL. I know a lot of people are very like, oh, recent SNL was bad. Dude, go back to 85,
No, this is a tough.
Man.
I'll put a picture up of the cast right here. It's a bad
Randy
cast.
Quaid was in it, man. Like it was a fucking mess.
This is after Eddie, Eddie Murphy.
After Eddie, before Dana Carvey and Mike Myers.
Before that era.
the dark ages, to say the least. And even
Truly.
RDJ has said in interviews where it's just like, it was a great learning experience because of the fact that he couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do impressions, and I rag on people who can because I can't do it. It's like, yeah, it's a whole different environment. A lot of people think acting is acting. It's like, oh yeah, acting. You can act well in a play, in a movie, in a show, on live TV. It's like, no, they're all different fucking things, and some people are better than others. And in RDJ's case, he learned that he was better as a movie actor than a live comedic performer.
That's right.
So
in the 80s, he's finding himself. He's getting some supporting roles in films that are mostly bombing.
yeah, a lot of bombs from RDJ. A lot of people might know them, but for us, it was very much like I'm listing the most notable ones from his career in the 80s.
Exactly. I think as he gets older in the 90s
Yes.
is when you get some ones that are like, you really see his acting chops shine in the 90s.
He's definitely doing more leading man roles, which
Yeah.
I really fuck with. I named 4. I don't know if you knew any of these or any more that I didn't list here, but these, to me, were the most distinct from his career in this particular decade.
I mean, to me, let's start with Chaplin.
Yes.
I mean, he plays Charlie Chaplin and does so extremely well. I think this is where people saw that, oh, this guy, he's something special. He gets nominated for Best Actor.
Yeah, man.
For this role.
He was like in his 20s.
He's in his 20s. He gets nominated for Best Actor and loses to Pacino, who won for Scent of a Woman.
In all fairness, though, if you look at that nominations list, he was competing with De Niro, Pacino, I think, I want to say Ed Harris, a lot of veteran actors.
Right, but the fact that he was even there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you had an early career, or like your early career is kind of bombs in these like side teenager roles, and then you get a role so like demanding and hard, like to play Charlie Chaplin, like one of the all-time most beloved actors in Hollywood, like a true legend.
In terms of silent era, most people, universally speaking, know who the fuck Charlie Chaplin is. Yeah.
And how many other silent era actors do you know?
Yeah, exactly. I know a few, but again,
But like the average person, right? Like
exactly.
not many.
Yeah.
So this is a tall task, and the fact that his performance was so good that it got recognized by the Academy Awards, I think that changes the trajectory of his career a little bit. But he can't really capitalize off it in the 90s too much.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember his role in like the movie Heart and Souls. Have you heard of this movie?
Yeah, I have.
Oh man, I love it. But again, that movie didn't do well at the box office, and he had a rom-com called Only You, starring him and Marissa Tomei.
Yes.
Man, what are the odds of that? Friggin' Aunt May and Iron Man coming back like years later.
Yeah.
They started out in a rom-com.
I didn't even think about that. That's right.
So that was one notable one. And like RDJ hasn't really been known for rom-coms, so that's a cute little one.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
To see.
But in the 90s, I mean, he's his acting career is on the rise, but I think his drug usage is also on the rise.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's going to jail in between these films.
Yeah.
He's checking in and out of rehab. He's escaping rehab.
Yeah.
There's rumors coming out in Hollywood of him being so high that he goes into his neighbor's house and sleeps there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, like wild stuff. Like this man was on a path like that, was not leading anywhere good.
And the sad reality too is a lot of actors have suffered in this scenario before and have not come back.
Never.
I mean, we could name various actors who have gone through drug addiction and have unfortunately passed, whereas Robert Downey Jr. in this case had a lot of those similarities, but was able to come back from it, which is it's a very impressive thing. And I get it. Like a lot of people have told this story millions of times, and I'm pretty sure him at his age now is just like, yeah, like it happened, and I've since moved on with a family, kids, and a wife.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful to see.
But it's not like this man was, doing overnighters in jail, like just because he was drunk or something. Like this man went to prison.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Intense.
Like really fucking intense.
This
shit.
is a real inspirational comeback story. And if anybody's story shows that it's never too late to turn your life around, I think it's Robert Downey Jr., man.
Absolutely. So, as the years go on, too.
As the years go on. So we get into the 2000s.
Yeah, man. I call it the pre-Cape shit era.
Yeah,
Because
I like that.
he was not doing superhero yet, but he was still in these pretty good fucking movies. One of my favorites being Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
This is one I haven't seen yet.
Oh,
I know
man.
you love this movie, so please talk about it a little
So this was directed by Shane Black, starring Val Kilmer and Robert Downey Jr. Their comedic chemistry is so fucking good. It's like this buddy cop Christmas-esque type of thriller. And it reminds me of a lot of like Lethal Weapon. It reminds me a lot of like The Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis and Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
So if you like those films, oh, you'll fuck with that one.
bit. Love that.
And another one I really enjoyed was A Scanner Darkly.
Not familiar with this one.
So this was based off of a Philip K. Dick novel. He was mostly known for Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So this was another novel that he did,
Cool.
which got adapted by Richard Linklater. And the way it was animated was it was shot in live action, and people animated the frames,
Whoa.
which I think it took 2 years to do.
That sounds like the hardest way to do this.
But visually speaking, it looks really cool because of the subject matter it was dealing with drugs. So it's kind of like if it's dealing with drugs, hallucinations, you as an audience member are watching a movie that's like live action, but also it moves different. So you're like, what the fuck?
That's trippy. I gotta check that out.
So RDJ was in it, Winona Ryder was in it, a few other actors. Would recommend that. And I think most notably, he got Zodiac.
Love Zodiac.
He's fucking great in it.
He's great in it, and it's a great film. It's
Yeah.
it's a fucking banger. After Zodiac is like the RDJ that you now know and love. I think it starts to come out.
Yeah. Well, Zodiac was a great example of like a bunch of really, really talented actors before Marvel took them.
Yeah.
Before Marvel got their asses.
When you look
know?
at Zodiac's cast, you're looking at Hulk,
Yep.
Iron Man, and Mysterio.
Yeah.
Solving the mystery of the Zodiac killing.
It's fucking weird, man. They got their asses, man. I mean, who could blame them? They're very talented, and they all did amazing jobs. I mean, personally, I think RDJ did the best job.
That's right, and that Marvel stuff unfolds later, but RDJ is the first and yeah, probably the best.
Yeah, man.
But before the Iron Man era, we got Tropic Thunder, which
Yep.
is this month's movie of the month. So if
Yep.
you want to see us talk about Tropic Thunder, we are doing a full half-hour episode on Tropic Thunder, and I'm so excited to talk about that movie.
yeah.
That's going to be a banger. Check us out on the YouTube memberships, Patreon. This is already our 3rd episode, so
Yep.
you can watch another 2 as well. Check us out over there. If you like what we're doing at Real Talk, that's the best way to support us. Support your boys. Check it out.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna skip that movie and go right into
Iron Man era.
God damn 2008 to 2019.
Like, Marvel casting Robert Downey Jr. with the past that he had.
Yeah.
And, there's stories about how the insurance to even insure Robert Downey Jr. on the set was so high that he was like making no money, and like people had to co-sign him, like Mel Brooks co-signed him one time or whatever.
Mel Brooks?
There's a bunch of stories.
Wow, that's fucking awesome, man. I mean, just hearing Mel Brooks being involved in that.
Yeah, apparently they were close friends.
Damn.
So for Marvel to take a chance, I think specifically Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
This is his vision because Robert Downey Jr. has said that Favreau wanted him. Obviously, the studio's skeptical given his past, and this is a superhero movie. But you have to think, like, now it's hard to even think about, but Iron Man was a B-side superhero.
Yeah. Because Marvel, the way they looked at it was, we're going to make our cinematic universe, or like testing it out. So we're going to have Hulk, Ed Norton. He's going to be the big fucking dude.
There you go.
And then we'll have Iron Man somewhere. And the irony is Iron Man made so much more money and was better received critically.
There you go. They thought this was going to be a B-side superhero movie. It's not Spider-Man.
No.
It's Ant-Man. It's a side character.
Very much
At
so.
the time, the average kid probably didn't know anything about Iron Man. And that's the truth. And it's hard to believe that now because everybody knows Iron Man. But why? Because of this man.
Yeah.
Right?
This performance.
So they take a chance, and man, he apparently they're so split. Jon Favreau is really going up to bat for RDJ, and they decide, you know what? Let's do a screen test.
Yes.
They give him a couple weeks to prepare, and he kills the screen test.
Yeah.
immediately convinces the studio, and they're like, okay, no doubt there's not a better person to play Iron Man. And wow, did that work out.
Yeah.
Literally the spark that lit this whole universe.
It's so amazing because of the fact that this might be, if not the best, one of the best superhero castings, period. You can never recast Iron Man.
I mean, I wanted to ask you, out of all the casting in the MCU, is there any better than RDJ? I really don't think as Iron Man. Like, is there anybody better casted?
No.
No.
You want to know why? Because people like, I respect Chris Evans, I respect Chris Hemsworth. They're having proteges. I don't see Iron Man's protege anywhere. No. They're trying with Ironheart. They're trying with that, but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to hit as hard. And you know what's even crazier is that his sarcasm works so well in that they tried to do it with other characters. Did you ever notice that with Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, the whole sarcastic comedic timing?
Did I ever notice that? That's the whole fucking MCU now.
Exactly.
You know? That's what this shit
that started
turned
with
into.
fucking him.
Everybody was like, "Oh man, it works so well for Robert Downey Jr." It's because of his charm.
Yes.
It's about these qualities that are specifically him. That format, I think, doesn't work that well with all superheroes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think superheroes work best when they're kind of played straight and grounded.
Right.
RDJ brought so much charisma. It's the Riz that he brought to Iron Man.
Exactly, man.
That they're trying to duplicate to this day, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, even with the amount of writers that have handled Iron Man and RDJ's character in these movies, they're all different in similar, different ways. He himself can make the script fucking work.
Yeah.
Even with films that I'm not a huge fan of within the MCU franchise that he's in, he's like the best fucking part.
He's always the best part. And this era spans from 2008 to 2019.
Damn.
He's basically exclusively doing Marvel shit.
He's in 10 of these.
10 movies.
Oh, 10.
Please read out the salary evaluation.
I will, absolutely. I looked into this because I was like, how much did RDJ make? So in the first Iron Man film, 2008, he made $500,000. Pretty decent. Pretty modest salary.
Yeah,
you know, coming from
salary.
a B-list superhero character and the movie itself. Guess how much he made for his last film as Iron Man, Avengers Endgame. $75 million.
What? He himself made $75 million?
For Endgame, yeah.
That's the craziest thing ever.
It's and not including Infinity War 2. Infinity War was slightly less than this, so I would say maybe like 55 to 60 million. So add those two up, and that's what he fucking made.
My God.
Yeah, man.
This is such an anomaly in film, like this guy's career. Like this shit doesn't happen. And it just goes to show you how one character, perfectly casted, can change your life.
I can totally picture that Marvel room with all of those executives sweating their balls off when RDJ comes in for Endgame.
Right?
He's like, "Here's my number. That's how much. What are they gonna say? No? Okay, who are you gonna cast for Iron Man?"
It gets to It gets to a point where it's a blank check that they have to write.
Yeah, how? There's no fucking way you can do anything but that.
He started this shit. The reason this shit happened is because of them.
Yeah.
And obviously, $75 million, it's a ton of money. It's one of the most ridiculous amounts of money I've ever heard for anybody to act ever.
It's fucking insane. It broke records.
But the spark that started with that first Iron Man and built the entire MCU, which netted billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's another thing too. I didn't even calculate because you know how some actors do net profit and are executive producers and stuff. I didn't include that with these.
Right.
So RDJ, if he wanted to, he could just retire after Endgame and live his whole life, whatever. But he chooses acting,
which I love.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. And again, Iron Man, so distinct. It will be remembered forever. Kids are loving it. Adults are loving it. I love it. His performance stands out. And Endgame was such a beautiful way to conclude his character arc.
What do you think the best acting he does in this Iron Man era is? Is the first Iron Man? Is it a sequel? Is it a scene, a cameo in another film? What do you think?
I personally think it's the very first Iron Man because that's the one where nobody knew how good it was going to be.
Yeah.
So you have this spontaneity within his performance, and there's always the scene where it's just like he's talking to a reporter, cuts to him having sex with her type of thing. I love that. That to me is like the best type of tight editing, perfect dialogue and everything. And it's like you don't really get that in other films in the franchise because, well, Iron Man has to destroy the most indestructible monster ever. So you don't get those intimate moments as much. I like the moments where he's like talking to Pepper Potts and stuff.
Grounded, yeah.
And the more they go into the MCU, the less you get of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, you get more action and you get more him in the suit.
Yeah.
But Tony Stark is the star. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Of the first Iron Man. And for that reason, I completely agree with you. I think his performance in that first one, having no reference point, is so impressive. It's one of the best performances. It's like one of the best castings of all time. Forget superheroes.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest castings of all time.
He just blends. He gets into the character so well that I'm gonna be honest. If you told me it was all improv, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, seriously.
It just sounds so natural that I could totally see him like just make an offhand joke.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's Tony Stark.
Amazing.
But after Iron Man, or at least during Iron Man, 2010s to 2020s, he did do other films on the side, like Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes, yeah, that's an interesting one. I hadn't seen that one in years, but I remember thinking it was decent back in the day.
Yeah, he goes for his British accent, and he's acting with Jude Law.
That's right.
And I believe Rachel McAdams in the first one and the second one, to the point where I want to see a third one now. I feel like Guy Ritchie's got a third one in him. Conclude the trilogy that way.
That would be cool.
He did a good job as Sherlock Holmes, I would say.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I love Guy Ritchie, so I'm down for that. I'm in.
Same. And then another film within this era. This was post Hangover for Todd Phillips. He goes right into Due Date. I think this movie's hilarious.
I haven't seen this one. Is this one worth watching? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like this road trip movie where it's him and Zach Galifianakis. They're going on a road trip, and dude, I fucking love it. It's because RDJ plays like the meanest asshole ever. He is so mean. He's such a dick, and he's being a dick to Zach Galifianakis. And it's like it's this very dark humor that I really fuck with. Not a whole lot of people do, and it does still suffer from modern comedies being like, oh, all right, this is the part where the characters split away, and we got to be emotional for a second and come back. Bullshit like that, but overall, I think the jokes really hit well and pretty solid.
And you said this is Todd Phillips directed after Hangover with Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah, man.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
That's one I definitely got to check out. I don't know how that flew under my radar. That's dope.
Yeah, it's not as big as Hangover, obviously, and I think Todd Phillips, for some fucking reason, made Hangover Part 2 and 3, and for money, I guess. But again, pretty solid film. Due Date, and then we get into
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, dude. After Endgame, he goes right into like Christopher Nolan territory.
Yeah, and fits right in.
Yeah,
fits right in. The character of Strauss is so nuanced because his motivations unravel as the film unravels.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
So you think he's one way, you think he's on this side, but his true intentions come out in subtle conversations, in subtle looks that he gives, in subtle remarks that he makes. Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr. does a fantastic job at portraying that. And
that's the thing too. He's in this position where he has played a character before for over 10 years. Probably like 12, 13 years he's had this character been playing. He could have easily been typecast and just been the sarcastic, young Tony Stark. So he is nothing like that in Oppenheimer. No. Nothing like that.
No. He is so not the center of attention.
Yeah.
In fact, he's the guy who got looked over his whole life. He's the guy who never got the respect he felt that he deserved.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it the most is the fact that he was able to change that character into something that like a bunch of people were watching it. Like to me, his performance as Strauss gave me vibes of like the 40s and 50s of Golden Age actors. Yeah. Him and Emily Blunt and a few other actors. I'm just like, this doesn't feel modern. This feels like classic Hollywood, and I fucking love that, man.
Yeah.
It's subtle enough that like you can't tell until like a little moments here and there, and again, well deserved of the fucking Oscar. It was about time.
I'm so happy for him. You could tell he was happy too. His speech was great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for RDJ, man. And I think the future is so bright for him. I think his stock is higher than it's ever been.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And not only
what
that-
what can he do like that will make him bigger?
Right.
Like I
Exactly.
can't picture him being in like anything bigger than Iron Man. So now he's in this position where he's a much older actor. He can take on whatever role he wants to freely.
That's exactly what I wanted to get into. Like he's entering that age where he could do such cool roles like this, where he could play older.
Yes.
He like Strauss. He could play younger still. He could
Yeah.
still get away with an Iron Man aged character
For sure.
because it's all in the charisma. It's all the way he carries himself. But he could also play older. So I think the sky's the limit for RDJ right now. I'm sure he's getting crazy offers. I think he has his pick, and I'm so excited about what's in store in the future. What do you want to see from RDJ going forward?
Oh man. You know, it'd be really, really fucking cool if he worked with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh yes,
Paul Thomas
That would be
Anderson.
amazing.
Don't
love
you know what? He loves his 70s films. Get RDJ set in the 70s. It'll be like this intense little crime movie. Maybe Tarantino gets a hold of him. I know Tarantino said it's his last film, but if he's able to grab RDJ for like a cameo, that would be beautiful.
It would. It
Oh,
really
man.
would.
There's too many directors I can think of, like Scorsese as well. Scorsese and RDJ have to work together at some point.
Put him in a Scorsese movie.
That would be so fucking good.
And who are some actors you'd want to see him work with? Like him alongside Leo? Like imagine.
Leo would be great. I'm trying to think like
Or even to like get like De Niro, like
Niro
some
would be
older
good.
ones, you know?
honestly like for RDJ like because I'm thinking Oscars and people who got fucking snubbed. Get Lily Gladstone and him acting together. I would
Gladstone.
fucking love that so badly. I heard that she's gonna be in another film. I'm watching that ASAP because like after Killers, I'm watching any film that she's in, man. So
100%.
yeah. But yeah, RDJ, there's so many actors to choose from. I'm fucking down. If he has the money too, before we end off, have him release All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Where he plays a Mexican. I found that out recently.
He plays a Mexican in
Fucking
that, eh?
hilarious, man. Oh man. Jamie Foxx was like, you gotta do this, man.
Okay, let's end off with the best Robert Downey Jr. film.
Oh, best Robert Downey Jr. film. You know what? I'm gonna go performance. A lot of people are gonna think Iron Man. A lot of people are gonna think Sherlock Holmes. But personally, my personal favorite is gonna be Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang
That was
Bang.
the prototype for what Tony Stark was, and I feel like if that film didn't exist, Jon Favreau might have not. Because I think Jon Favreau said Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and a
Was an
few other
influence,
films.
right.
Yeah. So,
Man, okay, that's highly recommended. I gotta check that film out. I'm
yeah.
gonna check that out.
What about
ASAP.
yours?
For me, what Iron Man did is so grand. I think it has to be Iron Man
Hell
for
yeah.
me. Wow, what a performance! What a character! What a life story!
Mm-hmm.
It's inspirational. Like we've done a few actor episodes. None are so inspirational as Robert Downey Jr. I think.
Yeah.
It shows that it's never too late to turn your life around, and look how he turned his life around in a big way. We're talking about from prison to making $75 million for one film.
Yeah.
And just winning Best Supporting Actor. Like, if that doesn't tell you what's possible, then nothing will, you know?
Yeah, hard work pays off, and even at the darkest moments for a lot of these performers, because again, media covers them so much that they
Yeah.
get depressed, they get
Of
mental
course,
illness
it's
and
so
drug
hard
abuse.
to be in the spotlight. Yeah.
Exactly, and what he did will be remembered forever.
We will end it off there. Thank you for watching this episode of the Real Talk Podcast. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to your boys. We will catch you in the next one. Take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.